but I decided to come online today, maybe to get rid of some internal demons. We all have those periods when we want to get rid of what is bothering us. As you know, my niche is about mental health, childhood development, trauma, feelings, and that sort of thing. Well, guys, today is the 29th of March 2026. My name is Fola Remy Speaks, and I talk about issues that deal with the internal. So today I wanted to talk about an aspect of my niche, which is cultural impacts on your life and how certain things you believe or live with or have grown up with can impact your adult existence. And I just want, this is a very brief one. I haven't posted in about maybe 2 months, and the reason why is that when the Epstein files came out, the impact of that, my condolences and heartfelt sympathy for those that are involved in the files, who are named, whose lives have been impacted. But there's also a group of people who, whether we realize it or not, have been impacted. And that is people that are not involved in the Epstein file, but had undergone similar traumatic occurrences in their childhood. And I'm one of these. And listening to the outcry, watching the videos, seeing the pictures, understanding what had done to lives, brought about, if let's say call it flashback to what happened to me when I was younger. And because of that, I had to stay off social media, stay off listening to the news, and try and regroup, try and look at myself and garner internal strength to come back and put my face on social media. My intent on social media is not for popularity, but it is to be able to discuss certain things that we don't want to talk about, that are hidden deep within us. But when these are hidden deep within us, what does it do? It creates an abscess that hurts us. And sometimes getting rid of that abscess is like having a boil, an infected boil somewhere in your body. The pain is horrendous. But without piercing it or getting medications for it, rather, that pain will never ebb. And that is what trauma is. It resides in your nervous system, in your cells, in the cells of your brain. On every aspect of your being is impacted. And the Epstein file opened up a wound that I thought was dry, that I thought was healed. No, it only had a scab over it. And that is why I understand that words harm. The words spoken, the words read, can do havoc to the human body. I'm an example. But in my case, there's an ambiguity. I'm British, but I also have a Nigerian background. And of course, I'm interested in issues that happen in Nigeria and in Britain. And sometimes I use examples from these areas to highlight how hopefully what I talk about can ease somebody else's pain. There are two particular issues that I wanted to talk about: misinformation, disinformation. I don't know if that rhymes with anything that I want to say. And when I mention that I'm from Britain and I'm also Nigerian, is the fact that these cultures have impacted me growing up. And I think somebody very famous, who's passed now, Prince, the musician, once said that we shouldn't spend our time watching things on television. Then during his era, it was just television, because the human body cannot take the stress. The nervous system cannot take the impact of what we see. It's like system overload. And I agree. But two things were very close to home for me that made me decide to speak today, to come out of hiding as a hermit, so to speak. Let me give you a short, quick, brief story to show you how trauma can grow in the body. Many decades ago, not many decades, maybe about a decade or 2 decades ago, I traveled to Nigeria to see my mom. My mom and I we have a very fractured relationship, but that was one of the times um, before I came back to live in Britain. I decided I am going to visit my mom. I remember getting to the airport, being picked up, and arrived where my mom lived. By then, she was living with an elder sister of mine. And I was so happy to see her. My heart was pounding. Um, and I walked through the corridors of my sister's home and entered my mom's room. At that point in time, I hadn't seen my mom for nearly a decade. So I was hoping against hope that, our fractured relationship, after her not seeing me for a long time, would bring some kind of rapturous togetherness. But as I popped my head through the door, the first thing that came out of my mom's mouth was, "Oh, it's you. Oh, it's you. So I've been told that you were asking about what you inherit from me." At that point in time, you can imagine my shock. I staggered because, believe me or not, some of the strangest, true life is strange. When I tell you this, just coming from the United Kingdom to visit my mother in Nigeria, poking my head through her room, and the first thing that she says to me is, "Oh, you are the one that was asking about what you will inherit in my will." At that point in time, I had no idea that my mother had a will. I had no idea that she had something that could be left to us. In Nigerian culture, you do not speak about things like that with your parents. It is it is a very archaic way of living, I agree, but that was the truth. So I was wondering, what are you talking about? Mom, I just came in. And she doubled down on it. I don't know why you came. If you think I'm dead so that you can inherit something, I'm not. I can assure you that I went cold. You read it in books and people say, I went cold. Yes, I went cold. I felt my toes coil up. I felt my stomach clench. I swallowed and I didn't have an answer because, given the background of what I just told you, how I arrived back home, how could I have been ready with an answer to such an assault on my senses? That's just one story that I want to put out there. But so why am I here today? I'm just giving that as one of the examples in my life that created intense trauma in my system. So going back to what Prince said, when you see people should not have been introduced to television, because what is fed back to them, the nervous system, the human body cannot take it. And it brings me back to one of the two reasons I keep on saying that. So what happened is, about a couple of years ago, a Nigerian content creator called Coral Bidi was getting a divorce from her American white husband. I'm being very specific about that because of what occurred. She is a black Nigerian who lives in LA. And there were a lot of things that were thrown out there, that this man did to her. One of this, just using this as an example, is that she couldn't get her driving test. She couldn't pass her driving test because during the driving test, she had to take their first daughter called Junie with her to the driving center. So I don't know whether she was failed because she had the baby with her, or she took the test and failed because the baby was in the car. And at that point in time, this was a thing about 3, 4 years ago. I remember a shiver going down my back because I knew because I live in the United Kingdom, there's no way you can go on a driving test with a baby in the car. On what grounds would that be allowed? And at that point in time, I also checked Yahoo Answers. That was a thing then where you could check for feedback or look into things. And that was, I think, before ChatGPT, to see, is it possible that somebody can go on a test? And obviously the answer was that that was not allowed. What kind of situation would have allowed that? I mean, this is life, things can happen. But at that point in time, for a driving test, you can't put somebody else in the car. It had to be you or the driver doing the test. And I remember going to the comment fields and commenting that that doesn't seem feasible. And I remember the comments saying things like, "Oh, you are jealous. Why would she? That man is a horrible man. He left her to suffer with a child. She couldn't go to do her test because she had a child with her." And the thing that stood out to me, because a lot of her supporters are from Africa or Nigerian, and being somebody with a Nigerian background, I can see by the names what tribes they are from. And the overwhelming response was support of her, that that man was a horrendous man. He didn't want her to progress in life. He did this, he did that. And this is why I talk about the power of the word and how words can harm. I mean, that little girl that presumably went on the test with her mother is nearly 6 years old now. But the damage that wrought on the father was immeasurable. He was bullied, he was insulted. Some people went to his working place, he's a chiropractor, and accused him of sexual abuse. I mean, it was horrific. I, as a black British African, I was dismayed because words are like eggs, as the elders used to say. Once it's broken, you can't scoop the yolk and whites back in, can you? And that was the impact of that. And I remember how my nervous system felt at that point in time. If I could have gone through the screen and smashed some people's keyboards, I would have. How can you be so stupid? How can you be so irresponsible not to check the fact? Now that's, as I said, very long time ago, but the impact of that still resides in my nervous system. And one of the things that makes me shy away from my Nigerian roots is because this type of mindset is not just the individual, it is a collective. That is the way people think. There is no validation, there's no verification or confirmation of facts. Most Nigerians are an emotional bunch. They react emotionally, not factually, not by pausing and waiting. And I was like that. Why am I talking about mental health disorders and things like that? Because that was who I was as well. That is. How I thought, I ran with my emotions. I never paused. And just to round this up, so the things that I was trying to bring up here is how words impact the nervous system. It's just like sound is fast. Words are fast. It seeps through your nervous system before you have an opportunity to say pause. Let me think about this. Could this be right? I said in one of my clips that Africa is full of traumatized people, and I agree. More so in Nigeria. People say it's corruption, but I think it's a survival mechanism that people react without thinking. And that is why I speak, because it has to be said, to put out there, so the people coming in the future would know that your DNA, your genome, your lineage might program you to react before you think. And the last incident that happened, and this is also a Nigerian incident, was of a content creator called, in Nigeria, she's called a Blessing CEO, like CEO of a company. Apparently, she's supposed to be a psychologist. I don't know. Recently, she came on the news, and she said to announce to people that she had stage 4 cancer. The internet is ablaze with it. You can check her name, Blessing CEO. And once again, that blow to my system came. The way I felt when I went into my mother's room and she said, I was asked, somebody told her that I was asking what my inheritance would be when she passed. And I can understand why, where wars happen, where things happen, because people hear things and don't pause and wait. This Blessing CEO told her audience that she has stage 4 cancer. Stage 4 cancer, I believe, is when the body has the growth in the body has metastasized. I hope I said that wrong. So that means it has spread to other parts of the organs. And I also believe that when you have stage 4 cancer, you can appear normal, but you would have internal symptoms, extreme tiredness, weakness, and things like that. I suppose pain as well. I don't want to be conclusive about what I say without fact. And this was put out there, and people were enraged. Likely so if she's lying. Because she came online and she shaved off her hair because she said, because she had stage 4 cancer. But stage 4 cancer, shaving of the head, would be a thing to do when you begin to lose your hair. I think during, is it, I've forgotten what it's called. You go through something and then you lose your chemotherapy, yes, and then you lose your hair. But she said that she's cutting, shaving off her hair because she had stage 4 cancer. And as I heard that and I felt the feeling in my body, I thought, words do harm. Sometimes words are more powerful than a knife. Somebody did say, the pen is mightier than the sword. And that is true. So I wanted to talk about this today, that words do harm. And if it is a cultural thing, a lineage thing, a tradition thing, a societal or community or global thing, we have to start being conscious of what is put out there. Unfortunately, as good as it is, social media has provided a forum where our brain is engaged 24/7. Do you agree? Do you think that you are impacted some way or the other? When you are scrolling through social media, do you assimilate anything? Doesn't it impact you? Anyway, that's why I wanted to talk today, that words harm. And we've got to be very diligent, especially for these young ones coming up, because they live within this society where words flow across every sphere of their lives. As someone living in the United Kingdom, I'm happy that our current Prime Minister Starmer is looking into limiting access to social media for young children. I think it's time that it's done. The impact of social media on young minds is immeasurable. Even as an adult, when I listen to certain things, I panic, I freeze, I believe. Then I have to physically drag my mind back into myself and said, ma'am, woman, think. Anyway, I'll round up for today. This is Falaremi Speaks, just sharing my thoughts. Be careful of your words. Remember, who you are determines how you would react. Have a wonderful day.